Unknown individuals have reportedly opened the grave of Hafez al-Assad, father of Syria's Bashar al-Assad, and exhumed the remains of the body in Karabakh, in northwestern Syria. It is unknown in what direction the body has been taken and what has been done to it. Footage circulated in social media shows what appears to be the mausoleum of Hafez al-Assad, with a hole in the center where a grave marker once stood. It should be noted that opposition fractions led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, known as HTS, ousted Bashar al-Assad during a major offensive in December 2024, ending nearly 30 years of Assad dynasty's rule. Shortly after their victory, the Syrian rebels stormed Hafez al-Assad's mausoleum and set the tomb on fire.
As a result of the events of recent years, Kaliningrad is virtually cut off from the main part of Russian territory. According to Professor Michael Clark of King's College London, the West needs to make further efforts to completely blockade this semi-exclave. We have done quite a lot of work. As a result of the war, Kaliningrad was effectively cut off from ground transportation. Kaliningrad is under pressure and the Russians feel it. The pressure can be increased even more, Clark noted on Sky News. At the same time, NATO is concerned about the Suwalki corridor, which connects the Kaliningrad region from Belarus. The professor believes that Russian troops could use this route to break through. However, the North Atlantic Alliance is prepared for such a scenario and will not allow it to happen. Many in NATO worry that Kaliningrad is an outpost of Russian aggression. I think it is the other way around. Kaliningrad is vulnerable because it is surrounded by NATO. Michael Clark is sure. In this context, the analyst believes it is important that Sweden and Finland have joined the Western military bloc. In this situation, Kaliningrad is even more isolated from Russia. Earlier, former Deputy Secretary of State of Poland, Piotr Kulpa, expressed the idea that the Russian armed forces could go to seize the Suwalki Gap and thereby cut off the Baltic countries from the rest of Europe. Russian troops may initiate the seizure of the Suwalki corridor, which connects Belarus with the Kaliningrad region. Thus, the Baltic countries will be cut off from the rest of Europe. He added, "Yes, such a situation could exist, but look how quickly NATO is collapsing," the politician noted on air at Radio NV. Kulpa recalled that Biden considered a small invasion of Russian troops, which is not a war, to be entirely possible. Trump, however, does not provide Europe with the security guarantees it needs, since he demands that the continent's countries allocate at least 5% of their GDP for NATO needs. Now, the European armed forces, which do not have their own intelligence and buttons, are not capable of resisting external aggression. At the same time, Washington's rapprochement with Moscow creates a situation of strategic uncertainty in Russia's relations with China. Russian troops are expected to attempt a breakthrough to reach the Dnipropetrovsk region by May the 9th. This opinion was expressed by military expert and director of the new Geopolitics Research Network, Mikhailo Samus. The expert clarifies that there is currently no direct impact on the front line from the pause in US military aid. What's happening now on the front is the traditional effect of the May the 9th Victory Day hysteria. Samus said he believes the Kremlin has issued an order to capture some new Ukrainian territory in time for May the 9th to showcase a victory. Reaching Dnipropetrovsk region? Well, Russian troops have been stationed just 4 kilometers from the border of the region for several months already and still haven't managed to reach it, he pointed out. From a military perspective, Samus does not consider this a genuine breakthrough. However, from a propaganda standpoint, it is extremely important for Russia to reach Dnipropetrovsk region. The idea is that Trump could then say, "See, we stopped aid, and the Russians immediately entered another region they'll demand during negotiations. So from this point of view, Russia will try to break into Dnipropetrovsk, particularly in the Pokrovsk area, he added. According to Samus, Russia is now attempting to increase pressure at the front and create the illusion of a breakthrough, especially amid the suspension of American aid. The Americans halt aid. The Russians start hitting our cities with ballistic missiles and intensify offensives on the fronts. They want to show, look, without US support, Ukraine is falling apart. I'm confident that won't happen. There won't be any immediate effect. The impact of the aid suspension will be delayed, the analyst concluded. Military expert and former Deputy Chief of Staff of the Ukrainian Armed Forces, Ihor Romanenko, says that Russian forces intend to enter the Dnipropetrovsk region by May the 9th. During the Moscow parade, Vladimir Putin wants to demonstrate that his forces are making progress in Ukraine. Russian forces are trying to accomplish other tasks, advancing towards Dnipro. Putin wants to show during the parade that he is completing the final phase of the special military operation, Romanenko said, adding that Putin also wants to enter the Dnipropetrovsk region. However, he noted that it is unclear how successful the Russian army will be. The resources the Russians have been used up. I qualify this escalation as the first phase, the expansion, the scaling of hostilities on the front lines. But the second phase in the summer and fall will depend on the outcome of the first phase and whether they find additional resources, the expert explained. He reminded that Russia plans to mobilize 160,000 people this year. The spring conscription is ongoing and another one will take place in the fall. Considering the situation, Putin is doing his best to seize these lands, particularly the regions that have been added to their constitution. There have also been proposals from both Witkoff and the Trump team. Kellogg just said that Ukraine won't agree to this. Therefore, the situation is escalating, and in the coming week or two, it will be clear how it will unfold, Romanenko added. So, for his own petty purposes, Putin is now massacring Russian soldiers in the Dnipropetrovsk region.
Ukrainian MiG-29 fighter aircraft has destroyed Russian infantry positions in Zaporizhia direction of the front line in southeastern Ukraine. Explosions occurred in the position following the attack. American GBU-39 guided bomb was used in the strike. The attack is the latest in the strikes on Russian military positions and facilities in occupied territories of Ukraine and on Russian territory with the use of US-made weapons. Ukraine has also been using French-made bombs on attacks on Russian targets.